Hey, how are you?
You think I'm ready to get started here?
She's got a chair.
Sit down. You got it? You want to sit down?
Yeah, for her ladies.
Hey, Brent.
Yeah. Well, I'll do it. I don't know how. I don't know.
Okay, we have just a couple of minutes before we start, so, if you don't have a seat, please find one. If we need to pull out some more chairs, we can do so.
Oh, yeah. It's folded up.
Here, Anthony, I ain't bringing that joint.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And if you will stand with me for the prayer and pledge, I'll be bringing us in the chair and I will lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the approval of the minutes from the November 16th, 2021. Have a motion? The minutes,
I'll make a motion.
They put out any agendas today? They put out any agendas?
do I have a second?
Mostly about that condo.
All in favor?
Figure it out. Make it
December the
Well,
7th,
but it's here.
2021, the public hearing. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? December 7th, 2021, special call employment approval.
I'll make a motion, we approve the December the 7th, 2021 special call meeting.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Okay.
Now?
approval of agenda or motion to amend the agenda. I'm going to ask that we amend the agenda and allow Tacey Joe's discussion to come before public, or before the action agenda items. Since she's very last on here and she has a very small report for us, right, Tacey? You can do it in just a short period of time if they'll do that. Do I have anybody? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we amend the agenda and move Tacey Joe to go over our 2020 financial statements after public comments.
All in favor? All right, public comment. Caesar Martinez, DDA.
Good evening. Couple quick things.
I'm not sure that microphone's on either, Caesar. Can you hear him in the back of the room?
Can you hear me now?
No,
Not really.
How about now?
no.
Hello?
There you go. There you go.
I just have to speak loud. Okay. First, I want to thank the city for its support of the very successful Light Up Blue Ridge that we had this year. I want to specifically thank Tony Bird and the efforts he did to make that successful. He was phenomenal. Second thing is, for the BRBA, we will be having our 11th annual Fire and Ice Festival coming up the 19th of February. So that'll be the first one of the year. As far as the DDA goes, Nicole has already met with the vendors for signage. I think she still needs to meet with ACE, but she's met with the other group, and they're outlining where some of these signs need to go, so that's moving along pretty well. Russell is working with someone right now who should be able to help us fix the internet and cell availability in downtown, which is terrible. So as soon as he has some of those things pulled together, I'll bring that to the council so you guys can get that, see what that program's all about. The other thing I want to tell you from a DDA standpoint is our next meeting is January 3rd, and that's before the new city council's put in place. That meeting in January is traditionally when we bring the council in and give them an update. So I am going to postpone that meeting until February so that we can do that with the new council. That meeting will be February 7th. Any questions for me?
Actually, I would like to say you guys did a fabulous job on Light Up Blue Ridge. Thank you for all the effort. It was wonderful.
It was a lot of fun.
It was wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Donna Thompson.
Thanks, Donna Thompson. I have a few questions regarding the Kuiper development that's going to be voted on tonight. It's disappointing that we're not hearing questions from the dais from the last meeting. You approved this project asking that final plans return to you for final approval. There's been no dimensions or details provided. It's impossible for you to make a responsible decision without that type of information. We would like for someone to tell us, what is that elevation going to be at the street level to the top? Builders have been contacting me that they're estimating it's going to be over 90 foot at street level at the intersection. And that's based on a 30-foot rise in topography. Is this why details are being hidden from the public by the developer, by the property owner, by the city? We don't know. Impact studies should have been required. No different from all your questions on Searles. To not ask questions and represent and protect the city is negligent on your part. So what about concerns for traffic volume, turn lanes, center turn lanes, sidewalks, police, stormwater, water, sewer, etc.? Comparing it to the Searles request, it shows either tremendous discrimination or preferential treatment. You have less information here than you did on the Searles request, yet no questions. At the last meeting, 3 of you said you were concerned for potential lawsuit. Are you basing your vote on the threat of a lawsuit or on the city ordinances? The question remains, who empowered the city attorney to make decisions without the knowledge of the city council? Attorneys are very selective about their words, and one incorrect or misused word in a document can change the interpretation of that entire document. Mr. Valley stated in his letter to Ms. Doss, quote, "I concur with your assertion that Judge Kiper is not limited by the current moratorium and may construct the building as shown on the approved elevation. First, who approved the elevation? When, how, and by whom was that done? Second, when did the decision transfer from Judge Kiper to land development? Grandfathering usually does not always transfer with the sale of a property. Last, the developer's attorney stated that they wanted to be a good neighbor. Then we're asking them to be a good neighbor and provide the details tonight to the public. And we have a petition. I can provide you a copy of that Brandon Mathis did. We have currently about 750 signatures on it, along with numerous of those people who provided comments to go along with it. Thank you very much.
Richard Arnold. Just a moment before you do that.
Sure.
You can that. Yeah. Once the public hearing is over, you can talk about it. But you're going to get your chance to be heard.
So I can talk on Tiger?
No.
Not now?
In the public hearing, you can talk.
Okay, so none of these.
No, oh, okay.
Kiker's isn't a
Oh,
public
it's
hearing.
not a public hearing, so we can discuss that.
You just, yeah, wait
Once it's a
until,
public hearing, you cannot discuss.
for the variance request, wait till the public hearing and talk on Kiker.
West thing that he's
Yes,
set.
yeah.
Okay, we got this. I can't say a whole lot more than what Donna said. And all we have to do is look out here in this audience, and I would say the majority of the people here are opposed to the development of the condo. And Donna brought up a good point about the elevation. And every time I drive by there, I think about this. The way they have it set in these drawings, you're going to be sitting there looking at a wall on West 1st Street and Cook Street. It's just basically going to block out the sun. As you go up that hill, she quoted 30 feet. So at the top of the hill in front of Rum Cake Lady, you got 30-foot elevation, 60 feet tall. You might as well have a 9-story building there. It just doesn't fit. You know, we had to eat the hotel. Nobody likes it. Some of us don't like the condos. And so we can't stop them from building something in CBD at 35 feet, like the ordinance says. So if they're really wanting to work with the community, come up with another plan. Set it differently on the property. Put the low side, the parking on the corner. Do something. But all these people here, we don't want this in our town or our county. And so I want to go over what Donna said, but please don't pass it, please.
Okay, Tacey Joe, we're gonna go ahead and, almost her already. Tacey Joe, come to the microphone, please. Tacey Joe works with Walker & Welch. She does our accounting, our audit at the end of the year.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Okay.
You may have to turn that down towards you just a little bit. That's a little finicky.
Is that better? Is that better? As Donna said, I'm Tacey Jo Bracken, and I am the engagement partner for audits for Welch Walker & Associates in East LJ and Jasper. We have 2 locations. We've been working on the City of Blue Ridge's audit for several years, and we actually finished the audit in September, and as we have in the past, we had another clean opinion, had another good audit for 2020. We had a few things change on your 2020 financial statements, and I'm not going to go into details on the actual financials as we are sitting in December of 2021. I'm not sure that's pertinent information. Michael can do a better job giving you better finances as to where we stand now. But for 2020, when you look at your audit report, a few things have changed, and one of those is now the Downtown Development Authority, now that it has revenues and it has expenses and activity, is a separate column on your financial statements. So that's reported with the city's regular business. It's not combined in the city's financial statements. It's its own separate column. But it is reported as a component unit of the City of Blue Ridge. So that's something new. And so overall, the financials did look good. You had only one finding this year as far as financial statement findings. And that is the finding that we've had for a few years, and that's the segregation of duties. That's not new. It's just that in a city this size, it takes 4 to 5 people to perform the financial functions of the city without overlapping duties, so that you have a really, really good bulletproof system of internal controls. So while we do a really good job at the City of Blue Ridge segregating those to the extent you can with the staff that you have that's reasonable, we still do have some gaps in our internal controls, but at this point, the city's doing the best job with the staff that they have and the resources that you have. And you'll find that most cities of a smaller size, staff-wise, do get this comment. It's not feasible to have 5 people in your accounting department that all do separate jobs, sometimes with the volume of activity. So we did have that finding. Not a problem, and we do like that the mayor and council continue to be involved in the finances. That's one of the mitigating factors to your risk, that the mayor signs checks, she sees the invoices, and she sees what's going in and out of here, and that gives you an added level of protection. And that's one of the ways that we've talked to the city about in the past, is just keep the council and the mayor involved, and then that helps just prevent that risk to an extent. So we were glad to see through all of our testing that continues to happen in 2020. We did have it, and we had an elected official call us about a tax issue, and I know that you have discussed this since then, but as auditors, we're required to report on that when we have something brought to our attention. So we did look at taxes closer for 2020, because the issue that was raised to us was actually in a year that we had not yet audited. So when we did look at those, we were happy to see that the issue of the 5 phase had been resolved, and that the uncollected amount remained at an immaterial amount. It had been in the past and was again in 2020. So we were glad to see that we still did not have an issue, but the city had taken some steps to do 5 phase, which we had discussed, but we didn't have a real issue, so it had not been in your report. So other than that, we didn't have any findings that we thought we needed to bring to council's attention, or that were asked for us to look into. And another good report. We've been able to give the City of Blue Ridge a good report for several years, so it's another good year.
One of the other things that probably was not in our favor in many other cities is the pandemic. It created a lot of people out of the office at times and things like that. So I'm sure that the segregation of duties in a normal year would be a little better than they probably were the last 2 years.
That's true, but one thing we did test in the pandemic was whether or not your controls were still functioning when a pandemic hit. And we've done that for all of our governments and nonprofits, because that's why the controls were there. So we did test that those signatures were still who they were supposed to be, that invoices were still approved, that purchase orders existed, that council did approve invoices over a certain amount, even though you were having trouble having meetings. And so we were pleased to find that those controls were still in place and they were functioning. So the controls you had designed, even in a pandemic, were still working. So the staff did a good job in the middle of the pandemic, keeping things above board like they were supposed to.
Thank you, Tacey Jo. Do you have any questions? Does anyone else?
adequately.
I'm sure.
Is there an appropriate workaround for the internal controls that the new city council needs to look into doing to correct? I've been on the committee of New York Stock Exchange trading companies, and that is I'm real internal control oriented. And I really don't want to hear you say that there are gaps that are related to staffing or the size. If there's a workaround, everything's
Well, part of the workaround is the involvement of the mayor and council. So we have people outside of the staff that are involved in the day-to-day that actually mitigate that risk to an extent. The city has a very detailed accounting policy, a manual of sorts to follow, from purchasing to budgets to
There's
controls.
nothing you recommended that be changed in it. Okay.
Not as of now. I think that the council involvement and the check signers and some other things that we're doing right now are mitigating that for now. Of course, that should be a fluid document. So as things change, it can always be revised by the new mayor and council. But as of now, there's not one specific thing that was pointed out. Like I said, even though we tested the controls in a pandemic, we found that what they said in the manual they were going to do was actually being done. So.
One of the things that helped us, Mr. Whalen, was we actually added a little more staff to the city hall. So having another person on the staff here, they were able to be assigned some other duties so that somebody wasn't repeating those duties. And that's the thing, we just want to keep each category separate.
Right.
So. Anything else? Thank you, Tracy Joe.
Well, thank you. And we've enjoyed working with you guys over the years, and we wish you the best of luck. And we hope to continue working with the city of Blue Ridge.
Y'all have done a wonderful job, so hopefully you will.
Thank you.
And I'm going to have to brag on Tracy Joe just a little bit. We had an issue with our software, and Tracy Joe's company actually caught the issue that we had. It was really kind of cool that they even figured it out. But anyway, so they've been wonderful to work with.
Thank you.
Okay, so rezoning request, Martin, I might mess up this last name. Valeska? Thank you. 5161 and 71 West Main Street, proposed B2 for R1. So who's here to speak on behalf of? Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. And if you want to come to the microphone, you'll have 10 minutes to present in favor, and then someone has 10 minutes to oppose or whatever. So our clerk will be timing you.
My name is Martin Velasquez. I live in Acford, Georgia, 4301, Robleton Loop. This is the first time I'm being in one zone, so I got business over there in Atlanta. I own restaurants, and we bought this property because we thought it's going to be a great place for the restaurant. So that's the main reason why we bought it, but we want the rezoning.
Okay, so it's been R2 all along, and you're asking for it to go C2, so your plans are to do a restaurant in that area?
Yeah, something related, yeah.
I'm Kristen Young. I'm going to kind of help speak to you a little bit. The property is actually located at by Home Depot. It's in a little island. You can see on this
Kristen,
map up
you're
here.
talking to that, it makes it so much easier for her to
Sorry.
read it.
So the property is actually located at by Home Depot. It's in an island that you can see on the map over here. It's completely surrounded by commercial. So it really makes no sense why it's still residential anyways. Right here. That's weird. It's a little tiny dot in the middle of all that commercial.
Yeah, it's a property, it's already cleared, correct?
Mike
already
Hampton
moved the
used to
house.
have his office there, that brick
And
house
we've
that
already
was there.
taken it out.
Yeah, we've got a demo permit. We've already taken the houses down and everything.
Oh, did you want to use that house too?
No,
Okay.
no, they didn't buy it. He didn't buy the red brick house.
Okay, so it's still. So, did you have anything else that you want to add to that? You have no opposition from any neighbors that,
Your easement?
Oh, yeah, we have an easement actually going into the property behind, where the bodyplex and, the auto parts store is and stuff back over there. So there's an easement going into there, so there won't be any hindrances of traffic. It'll be easy to get in and out. Shouldn't be any issues with traffic or anything.
no one has any questions? So do we have anyone that's opposing this?
I'm not opposing, but I want to make a comment.
Okay. We've got time.
It won't take long. Anybody that comes into West Payne off of 5 knows that that's a very difficult intersection, especially people trying to come off of 5 northbound, turning left on the West Payne to get up to the property you own, I believe, where Dr. Fuzi is, right, Don?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Plus, there's a new lawyer's office there, I think. And then
I'm
you-
glad to hear they're going to open up that easement.
Right, but what I'm suggesting is that when you open up that easement off of Bodyplex, I would like to see the city require that that be more of an access road to tie into West Payne versus pulling into their parking lot and having to maneuver around their customers. So in other words, if we had a clear path coming from Bodyplex and connect to West Payne almost like an access road, then people wouldn't have to be making that crazy unsafe turn down at 5 in West Payne, and it would help those businesses on West Payne, since we're basically saying that's all commercial now, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if the city can require that or not, but that's why I'm speaking, is I'd hate to see an opening off of Bodyplex, and then you drive right into a parking lot and you're having to maneuver through cars to get to West Payne Street. That's it. And good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lock off. What is it? Lock off.
Maria.
Parade. That's the people.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And we'll let Jeff come up and present.
As they stated, that's kind of an island there that was left for whatever reason when the zoning map was drawn. I think it all should be commercial. If these 3 parcels are approved, there'll leave 3 parcels left that is residential in that little island, and hopefully they'll be rezoned soon and make all that commercial there. Because like she said, it is surrounded by commercial all the way around. I understand what Mr. Arnold was saying about the traffic, and with the easement through their Bodyplex and Auto Parts Place, I think most people would use that to get in and out of there. I don't know if the city could mandate that to use that, because all that's private property. City, that's not a city street there. Zaxby's or Progress Circle is not a city street. So, but I have no objection to the rezone. I think it ought to be commercial. It should have been commercial a long time ago.
Is the red brick house, it's still
It's still
residential,
residential.
even though it's been an office?
Yeah.
I think it's a residence now.
It is a residence
It's
now.
been moved to residence, but I still think the office still go in.
To right beside of his property, is the businesses that are zoned residential, and they've been that way for how many years? Eventually, hopefully, all of them will be rezoned and take care of that little island there.
Any other questions for Jeff? Okay. She was calling Harold. Harold said he wanted to be able to call in and vote, but I'm not sure if he's able to, so let me just see. Where's she at? just a couple.
Yeah, I don't think that's wise having a vote in because he's not having checked any emails either.
So I thought they said it was packets.
He
You should use packet.
She came and picked this packet up today.
Yeah, she came and got it today.
The only thing the planning commission recommended, if any water or sewer upgrade is needed to serve that property, that be at the expense of the property developer.
Any other comments? The easement that Mr. Arnold talked about, I think that is important to that property, which they say they're gonna open it up also, so that's gonna take a lot of traffic off that turn, that left turn.
I don't think we can mandate that. I think we could request that he would allow that, but we can't demand that.
I think the easement was secured through Mr. Tipton, is that correct? So he owns the property there, I think that you can access it through, so he has a written easement.
I think all those properties do through there. So,
And I think when yours and Angie's one's the building you guys
I
have.
think they all
I think
have
you
it.
have one too.
So there's
you could even
Jerry
utilize that.
Whitehead.
Yeah, you could utilize that.
But I know that if you try to make that left turn and it's a busy restaurant, that it would be impossible. So I don't know if we want to make that a provision in here of some type or.
They said he could, but it not being a city street.
No, especially like since you guys have that property, you could open up yours as well, just like they are. So.
Okay, are y'all ready for a vote? Okay, do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve, lot 5161 and 71 West Plain Street from R2 to the C2, with general upgrades to any water and sewer at the owner's expense.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Let's do a roll call, roll. Mike?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Okay, special land use permit, short-term rental request, Abigail Ingalls. Is she here?
I'm Abby Ingalls, sorry, I'm Abby Ingalls. It's my property. So the main things I wanted to say are, when I got it, I believe it was already zoned R3 in the tax records. I